The cat.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm here with one of the best to ever do it. We got Ted Czech
Eddie,
here, and we're actually, it's been crazy the last couple of days. It's really been out of control between UFC 300.
Great, come on. Yeah, but that's the way we love it, though, Eddie, right? That's the way we love it.
It's just been crazy because we've been kind of talking trash about this card, right? The whole build up for it.
Not me. No. But there were a lot of people that were, that were like, meh. You know what I mean? Yeah, they weren't impressed on paper about it.
So this episode, what we're going to be doing, Ted, is something a little different than what these people are getting on other podcasts. What we're going to be talking about today are the big highlights and what really made this card special compared to UFC 200 or UFC 100. We're going to be going over some of the moments we remember from UFC 200 or 100 and what our actual take on UFC 300 was, and if it will bring in more MMA fans like 100 and 200 did. So, Ted, overall, we always discuss this. The main event and the co-main event have to be amazing, right? When Dana was talking about how this card was going to be, how every card could be on the headline, it could be a headlining fight.
Right. Yep. He said that for sure.
Looking back over it, would you agree with that? I pulled the card up here.
Well, I mean, the top three fights were title fights. So you figure a title fight could be a main event fight for sure. Bo Nickel, I would say no. Now, look, and I love Bo Nickel, right? I love Bo Nickel. I live in Pennsylvania. He was a Penn State wrestler, and I think he has so much potential. Now, they took him, you could argue that they took him early into the UFC with only, I guess, 3 fights. He only had 3 fights, and now he's had 3 in the UFC. And so people were upset because his fight might have seemed a little lackluster, the one that he just had at UFC 300. And yeah, there were a lot of people that were upset that he got placed on the main card, but I understood it, because of the fan following that he automatically brings from being a wrestler. I know a guy, and this is just one guy, but I'm sure there's plenty of others who he's a fan of Penn State wrestling. So he watches and he follows Bo Nickel's career simply because of that. Simply because Bo Nickel was a Penn State wrestler, and now this guy has followed Bo Nickel to the UFC. Okay, that's just one person that I know personally, but I'm sure there are plenty of others. So that's why Dana White, I think, put him on the main card, and down. And he's the first one on the main card. But yeah, before we went live, you and I were talking about Sage Northcutt. Now here was another kid who had a big fan following, and showed some promise. So I think that's why he got put on, the UFC 200. Was he on the main? Was he on the main card?
I don't think he was on the main card of UFC 200, but he got destroyed and really opened up, and we kind of saw, what he was really worth at that moment. That was his moment to shine, and it really fell through on him. That's crazy you bring that up, because for me, on this card, Justin Gaethje is somebody I got to interview when he was in World Series of Fighting. Max Holloway, we've been watching him in the UFC since he was 20 years old. He's had some amazing fights through the years, so that's what makes it really exciting. People forget he's beaten Charles Oliveira. He's beaten He's beaten a lot of people over the years.
Sure. I mean, he was champ.
Jose Aldo, he's beaten, Trying to find, I had everything all written down.
And it all went to shit.
Had it all written down of his nice little build, but okay. So UFC 200, look at this card here. Lozon versus Diego Sanchez, with that one where his mouthpiece gets punched out of his mouth. That was a highlight from UFC 200. TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael Sunsao, the head kick. Pena versus Kat Zingano, the suplex. Kane versus Travis Brown comes out with the spinning wheel kick. That's something we remember. Brock Lesnar beating Mark Hunt. And then Nunes Tate. That was UFC 200. So looking at it now, UFC 300 looks a lot better now.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I had said this before that, maybe the name recognition or the star quality wasn't there for UFC 300. But when you look at it after the fact, just and as I said, this could potentially be that the action, the finishes, the moments, I think, made this one a great one.
For UFC 100,
what's that?
UFC 100 as well. It was such a moment where the UFC was on the rise. Doesn't seem like 2009 was that long ago. That card, we had Michael Bisping, Hendo, with the Hendo bomb.
Oh, yeah. The Hendo hammer.
And then we had Brock Lesnar defeating Frank Mir from the top.
Yeah.
We had GSP. Yep. This card, Ted, for UFC 300, the main event, wasn't too happy about when it first was announced. As it built up, Jamal Hill coming back, I was really excited. They did a really good job promoting that fight. The shaved head, there's the persona, and what this man's able to do within 2 years being in the UFC double champ and defending his title. How impressive
Talking
is
about
that?
Alex.
Yeah, Alex.
Sure. And well, yeah, a couple thoughts on that. Yeah, Jamal or Jamal, whichever you prefer. He made sure to make himself out to be the villain, I think. And like you said, I think it was all in the name of hyping the fight, building interest in the fight. So, yeah, I mean, usually there's a, if you want to use pro wrestling terms, there's a heel and there's a baby face. And so, yeah, Jamal Hill, he had that thing that he was carrying. It's actually a much smaller version of what you would find on it's a place called Easter Island, which I believe is off the coast of Brazil. I think it's in the Galapagos archipelago, if you will. But anyway, I guess he thought that was going to irk Pahea in some way, or was he saying like, hey, this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to shrink your head down, or that you look like one of these statues at Easter Island. I don't know. I guess he thought that he was going to offend Pahea by having that, or that it was some kind of voodoo that he was throwing at him or something. I don't know.
Well, there's actually a story behind it. Alex, I forgot exactly how the story came out, but he has one of those, and it's part of the lore of Alex, I guess you would say there. So that's why he had it, and he put it like on a chain, just trying to promote it. And then I don't know if you noticed this, Ted, but last night, guys, somebody was watching Jamal Hill on their phone. They recorded this. He goes up for the walkout, right? He's in the cage waiting for Alex. When Alex usually walks out, he does the whole thing where he pulls back the bow and arrow, right? And he lets it launch.
Oh, is that why Adesanya did that when he knocked Alex out? He did the same thing, the bow and arrow thing.
Exactly. That's like Alex's thing. So while Jamal was in the cage, he welcomed it, pretend like he caught it, and broke it over his knee. People are making fun of it. They're like, he's probably practicing that in the mirror thinking it was bad. It was fucking badass. If you're sitting there and you saw that all take place, it adds a little specialness to it. There's like all these things, but
you can see it both ways, because these guys in the NFL, they practice their little victory, if I'm going to score a touchdown, I'm going to do this kind of dance. Like, okay, yeah, they look in the mirror and they do that, but it's still, it adds to the whole, build up for the fight.
You know what really did it for me though, Ted, was how this fight went from getting kicked in the nuts, waving Herb Dean away, Says, hold on a second. I'm in the middle of something. I'm about to kill this man. When he punches him, Ted, he doesn't really connect with his full fist, DC was pointing out. He connects with like the bottom part of it. And you watch Jamal's eyes roll into the back of his head.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Because generally speaking, you want to hit with these two knuckles. You don't want to hit with the bottom one. But and maybe also I don't know if DC said this, but it wasn't a real hook, and it wasn't an uppercut. It was more of what they call a shovel. So somewhere in the middle between those two, between this and this, it's kind of in the middle. So it's called, I believe they call it a shovel punch. So very effective, obviously. But yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, what a great, because I still think about when Alex got knocked out by Adesanya, and I'm like, whoa, guy needs to come back from that, and boy did he, in a very convincing manner.
Well, you know what actually was surprising about all of it too? A moment like that to happen on a card this big, that's a $600,000 finish. Max Holloway got $600,000 for his finish as well. Kayla Harrison submits Holly Holm. There were some moments on this card. I didn't really dig the female fight, but at the end of it, they're discussing thank you for supporting the Chinese women. And I could see how that's a big deal. 2 Chinese women in the octagon for a huge event. China, and you know how crazy they are for their fighters. 2 females. And you think here in America, it wasn't that long ago, Ted, probably your grandparents, women weren't allowed to do many things, let alone they couldn't go to work. Women couldn't vote not that long ago here in America. Think about, over in China. This was a much bigger deal than was actually brought to light. Would you agree with me there? I don't think anyone's really respecting that.
And here's another thing is that China is not necessarily an ally of the United States. And so, yeah, there's definitely a sentiment, not necessarily among all Americans, but against some Americans, that China could possibly be, somewhat of a, at least on the down low, kind of a hostile nation towards us. I know that our president does talk with the president of the Chinese Communist Party, but still, you got the whole TikTok thing. A lot of people consider that to be poisonous to the American culture, and it's traced back to the Chinese. Be that as it may.
Ted, let me say something about that, because it's really interesting that you did bring that up. People don't realize that we're giving China all this information, and what China's doing in their schools now is they're training them to basically be a young army. The TikTok algorithm in China is a lot different than what it is here in America. We're seeing violence. We're seeing people against people. In China, they're showing them positive things, learning, motivational things. And if you look deep into it, it's very evil. So, last night after the fight, she was saying, thank you, come to China, come eat food. But it's interesting that you bring that up. But
yeah, but what I was going to say was that this is America, and this is, and yeah, it's a cliche, but it's also true. The land of opportunity. It's the land of opportunity. I don't know that you're going to see a fight like that in another country. I don't know. Do they allow women to fight in China? I don't know. But I don't think that you would see a fight. Certainly not on the scale of UFC 300. And it's just one fight down from the main event, or you could say it was the co-main event. So I think only in America are you gonna, and only in the UFC are you gonna see a fight like that happen. And here in America, I think we're very forgiving, and we look at someone's merit. Are you a good fighter? Doesn't matter where you come from. Are you a good fighter? Can you throw down? And if you can, great. Then we're gonna watch you.
What do you think that did last night for the pay-per-view numbers? I didn't get a look at how the sales were.
See, that might be. I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers weren't. That's where the star power comes into play. Is in the pay-per-view numbers. But although Dana White said what was it about the gate, which is the amount of money that you draw in from the live audience. I think he said that was the third highest gate in UFC history. So that meant there were so that probably because of all the seats were expensive, but then when you got down to close to ringside or cage side, they were really really expensive. Because there were not, I don't want to say only, but there were like 20,000, just a little over 20,000 plus in the arena.
I saw some of the photos of it. It looked absolutely insane. I think one of the other ones was Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey in Australia. But for the new people, for new MMA fans out there that might be tuning in, explain what the gate is. It's what exactly?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's the money. As far as I understand it, that's the money that they draw. So let me back up. There's multiple revenue streams that you get from that the UFC receives from a pay-per-view. So you get the pay-per-view numbers. So those people watching at home, or they go to a bar and the bar has it. And then there's the people that go live to see it. And so that's called the gate. So it's all the money that they get from people buying tickets. And maybe, I don't know if the gate also includes merchandise. I'm not clear on that, but yeah, generally speaking, it's the money that you make from people going to see the event live. And so my guess is, because it was 300, they hiked it up a bit, and understandably so. So that's why the gate was so high. I guess they call it that because it's people you got to walk through a gate to get to the action, to get to the arena. So I guess that's why they call it that. So it's an old term.
The stars were out in action last night too. Before we discuss anything out, there were so many people there, big celebrity names, that came together last night for these moments, and they captured their reactions to a lot of these knockouts, which I thought was a genius idea, because there's so few moments in MMA history, Ted, where you stop in the middle of your tracks and you put your hands to your face or to your mouth, or you just have nothing to say. That is one of the most beautiful things about mixed martial arts. It's one of the things. It's almost like the rush that this is why it's special. If you're a young kid or it's your first time watching a UFC event, this was the perfect event for that, because it's set in motion. Even if you watched it by yourself, the energy and the impact, the roller coaster ride of the entire event in a whole is going to bring you to a point like we had last night. Max Holloway pointing in the center, Alex shooing him off, just all these little moments. It's kind of like somebody taking their first hit of cocaine in a way. They're going to chase that high, right? You feel me? Ted, what was that moment for you when you became an MMA fan? What was it, your first moment you were like, oh, wow, I got to watch more of this?
Now we're going back a ways. I mean, and just to say, I believe Dana White calls them holy shit moments.
Yeah.
And I'm usually going, oh, kind of like a Joe Rogan. That's usually what I do. But I mean, because I remember it when it first came out in the 90s. I do remember it then. I don't know if I watched all the pay-per-views, but I remember it being around, and then going to Blockbuster and getting VHS tapes. Okay, that's what I remember. But I mean, there's been so many holy shit moments over the years. I'm trying to think of one in particular that really shocked me.
How about the UFC 100 Hendo bomb? That's a huge one.
Right.
Conor McGregor.
I mean, I could tell you. I'll tell you when it wasn't on 100 or 200, but it was Chris Weidman knocking out Anderson Silva.
Never forget that moment. Everyone was in disbelief at Buffalo Wild Wings that night.
Yeah, that was probably a moment where I was like, oh my God, that just shocked the hell out of me. That one, I mean, Conor knocking out Jose Aldo. Yeah. So I mean, we could sit here all night. But one thing I did want to bring up, you mentioned the money, and that was another thing that made this special, and the way that it happened, where they were having the press conference, and I guess it was somebody from the media said, "Well, Dana, what are you going to do for the fighters? Typically, you give $50,000 for fight of the night bonuses and things like that. What are you going to do?" And then the fighters were chiming in. Dana was encouraging it, and the fighters start chiming in, and a couple of them might have said 300, make it 300,000, and he says done. You know, that was something special.
That
really
is huge, Ted, because look at what a difference that made. Hey, guess what? Every single one of those fighters made sure to make weight. Not a single fighter missed weight on this card. Do you see the difference that it made, the impact that it made when you actually pay these fighters? Now, some people on the other side, playing devil's advocate here, Ted, would look at it saying, you're enticing people to almost kill somebody. For that amount of money, you're putting a hit on somebody's head, people might say.
I mean, it's the fight game. You go into it like that. I think it was Gagey who said that. He said he goes into the fight thinking that he might not survive. It's an attitude that you have to have, and or that some fighters adopt that attitude. Other
There's
fighters
a young boxer. We've seen moments of it recently. Young boxer, huge career ahead of him. He was about to fight for the championship. He gets punched with a dirty punch in a boxing match. His head starts ringing. He starts feeling a little weird. That man's in a coma. That man is no longer physically, he lost oxygen to his brain. He's mentally impaired now. I forgot his name, but it's one of the saddest things to see. And when you see how it happened and the punch that it took to do that to somebody, it does open your eyes to be like, every fight should be a fight where I can make sure everyone's going to be okay after this. At the level that some of these guys are, they should be making $300,000 bonuses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were some other fighters too that Dana White said after it. He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna take care of." He rattled off like 4 or 5 different names, other fighters beyond the ones that got the 300,000 for the particular fight of the night or whatever. He said, "I'm going to take care of this person. I'm going to take care of that person." You know what I mean? So yeah, it was great to see. I guess after this we'll go back down to the 50,000, but maybe by UFC 400 it'll be 400,000. One can only hope.
So they brought up how, and I thought this was actually really interesting. There's one fighter on this card who has been on UFC 100, 200, and 300, and that's Jim Miller. How crazy is that, Ted?
Jim Miller. Wow. How durable is that? That's just, I don't know. I can't think of a better word. Durable. The guy is just, he's a machine. That's a fighter right there. That is a true blue fighter.
Let me talk about the fight everyone wants us to discuss here. We had a knockout in the 5th round at 4 minutes and 59 seconds in one of the most classic ways ever, going back to, and people may not remember this, this originally happened not in 2019 where Max Holloway points in the center. He did this back in 2015, I believe, against, I forgot the guy's name. Was it O'Brien or Corellia? Oh, it was one of these guys, and he pointed to the center of the octagon and says, "We're going to do this." That.
Yeah, it was like the last, I don't know what, 10 seconds of the fight. He's like, let's just go toe to toe.
Max Holloway has TKO'd Jose Aldo. He's finished Anthony Pettis, but this fight was a moment where I felt if he lost in a devastating manner, Max might be at the end of his career. However, We saw a 20-year-old kid throughout his career go from losing to Conor McGregor to changing things in his life, putting forward self-discipline, pride for his country, going on, I think it was like a 14-fight win streak. Then he has a little trouble as he got older. I think he's 32 or 33 now, which it could be in your prime, but he's probably 45 in, MMA years, let's say. This was the legendary highlight to his reel. Would you not agree?
Thus far, yeah, for sure. You had mentioned, had he lost this, would he have been kind of, would that have been it? I tend to think that of Justin Gaethje. I don't know. I think he's a little bit older, isn't he? Isn't he more like 35? All right. Because I'm a little concerned for Justin Gaethje. Okay. Yeah.
Hold on, I muted my mic for a second. He's only lost 5 fights, right? But those fights that he won too, he's taken more damage in those fights.
He tends to take a lot of damage. And he was definitely, I'm not saying he's a slow fighter, but he was slower. I mean, Max definitely had the speed advantage. And let's not forget, Max jumped up in weight, correct? Max usually
not
fights
only that, but he grew into it. Unlike last time when, moving up in weight and losing dust in the diamond the way he did, this time he actually looked like he was inside of his own body. We've seen Max Holloway go through disgusting weight cuts where he does not look like he's gonna really make it. Kind of like Kayla Harrison at the weigh-in show. Did not recognize her one bit. It's really scary to see. But Max Holloway looks like he actually grew into his body, got comfortable with it, adjusted. His boxing skills are a lot better than Justin's, but people were counting him out. Ted, were you counting Max out too?
I wasn't counting Max out per se, but I did think that I'm a big fan of Justin Gaethje. Not that I'm not a fan of Max Holloway, but I'm a bigger fan of Justin Gaethje, so I was rooting for him, but yeah, Max just wow. I mean, what a performance he put on. Very, very dominating. I think there may have been one round in there that Gaethje won or came close to winning, or was very competitive, but the rest was all Max.
One judge actually had it going at the very end. He had it a draw.
yeah. I don't know about that.
Well, going into that last round, he gave.
Not sure what they were watching.
He had it 2-2 going into that final round.
Okay.
Huh. Isn't that crazy? Well, hey, the son we still can't get right is the judge.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but were there 2 eye pokes that Holloway poked Gaethje twice?
Bad. Today.
Now,
Justin's
I'm not trying to make
eye. Did you see Justin's eye today?
No, not today. No.
I'm going to pull it up here on Twitter. It looks
also bear in mind he got his nose broken. So when you break your nose, your eyes get messed up too. But yeah, let's. You're gonna throw it up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm throwing it up on the screen right now for everybody because it looks disgusting. He actually had surgery on his nose as well, Justin Gaethje. Forgot exactly what it was.
Yeah. The nose break was just in the course of the fight. That wasn't. There was nothing. That was a head kick, right?
I can't find this photo. I can't find it, but it's disgusting looking. It's absolutely disgusting looking. His whole eye is completely black and blue, and it's crusty looking. It looks like it's crusty.
Oh God.
Well,
we apologize for anyone who might be having dinner at this point.
Well, Ted, it's a big thing. What do you think about eye pokes and stuff like that? They get away with it. You can get away with a lot in an MMA fight, and
yeah. I mean, it's up to the judges, I guess, not the judges, the referee, whether to take a point away. I think that were there any points taken away in this fight?
No, nope.
Yeah. See, now that needs to be enforced, because that's the only way that you're going to get fighters to close their hands, is if it really, really hurts them, if it really matters to them, and the only way you're going to get that across to them is by taking points away. I feel, look at John Jones. Look at the guy's made a career out of poking people in the eyes.
Exactly. I was gonna say that. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can almost expect him to do something illegal in every fight for his advantage. Right.
Does illegal stuff outside of the cage and inside the cage.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Ted, I don't mean to get off topic, man, but I had such a great time going back watching our UFC 200 reaction live on air while the news broke in the chat room. Minion tells us John Jones is out of the headline for UFC 200. And that moment itself, I mean, there were so many parts for UFC 200 that on the buildup of it was amazing. And that was something this card was kind of lacking, I guess, between John Jones falling out, between Conor McGregor not getting on the UFC 200 card, the Brock Lesnar announcement. There were just all these little things that made UFC 200 really feel like it was a moment. But what we remember and why we hold it so dear to our hearts, I'm realizing now, we had it all backwards, Ted. Check this out. Okay. We remember UFC 200 not for what it really was. I was looking back at UFC 200 today, the highlights, who was on the card, and I'm like, oh my God. Maybe what we remembered was the feeling, the buildup, but nothing was really that spectacular. Misha Tate versus Amanda Nunes, Diego Sanchez, Joe Lozon, Sage Northcutt. There was really nothing that crazy on the card. TJ Dillashaw, Assunção, Cain Velasquez. I mean,
so we remember it for what it wasn't.
We remember it for almost what it wasn't, but this card had all of the tools during the event that UFC 200, I feel, was missing. But everyone was giving it shit.
Yeah, because we thought maybe Adesanya versus Duplessis. We thought that was gonna be.
I think we were waiting for a freak show announcement as well.
Freak show, yeah. I mean, something that Pride used to be famous for, the freak show fights.
I mean, like a last minute big fight, because there was this whole thing. Tell me if you kind of picked this up too. I had a conspiracy going on in my head. Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler, to do a whole season of Ultimate Fighter together, right?
Right.
To push the fight off. We're waiting for the fight. Conor McGregor comes live on his Twitter. He says, yeah, I'm coming back. Dana White says, yeah, I don't know when it's going to be. Probably in like 6 months. Then USADA, right? We get rid of USADA, right? We get rid of USADA. Well, I mean, they got so he doesn't need to be in the pool for this and that. We see him getting beefed up, jacked up, doing the movie. Michael Bisping's done a movie, came to fight, knocked Luke Rockhold out. I thought that was going to be the big surprise. But come to find out, we didn't even need it. We didn't need Conor McGregor. And I feel like that's something else that we need to take away, because this wasn't a card where we actually thought we were going to get some legends in it, right? We wanted Anderson Silva at UFC 200. We wanted all these older fighters. This was a young, fresh, talented roster, and it was rich. It was violent. It had our legends in it against equal fights, and it just couldn't have been any more beautiful. It was, people, I guess, like to say, beautiful destruction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up beautifully, Eddie. No, I mean, I think that really nails it right there, and I like the fact that looking ahead, all the possibilities that these fights at UFC 300 have opened up. What's going to be next for Max Holloway? He's going to stay at 155, I guess.
Kayla Harrison
Mm-hmm.
proved herself, did something that we all expected Ronda Rousey to accomplish. She gets the rear naked choke on
Yes.
Holly Holm.
Yeah. So is Kayla the new Ronda Rousey with better striking?
So here's how I felt. I thought this could have
Yeah.
went one of two ways, Ted. They were going to do the cyborg treatment for Kayla, bring her over. You see her go through this weight cut. They diminish her, right? She looks frail. Bring her in to show everybody, look, the UFC is where all the real talent is at. They did Chris Cyborg so dirty. She loses one fight.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going with this.
I thought they were trying to deplete Kayla Harrison and make a statement out of her career, and that would absolutely screwed her. However, this works out for Kayla. She's lost one fight. She's 17-1. The way that she's built up her career, if she stayed with PFL, I don't think she could have been as big of a star. If Justin Gaethje stayed with World Series of Fighting, he would never have been as big of a star, right? We could pick out these fighters that have come over. This is another very exciting moment in MMA history, and it couldn't have went any more beautiful. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. That would be an amazing fight that I would really like to see next.
And there's talk of that. There is talk of that. Yeah, I don't know. I remember that has been done in the past with some fighters, like, or at least there was a suspicion of that Dana White's bringing these fighters over just so that they get their asses kicked or whatever, just so he can show that the UFC is the top. You know, when he brought guys over from Pride. But then you could argue, well, geez, look at Rampage Jackson. He came over from Pride. Woo, what do we got here? Okay, Korshkov versus Henderson.
So right here,
Pitbull versus
Benson Henderson gets signed to Bellator. This was a big moment in MMA history. Benson's going to go over there. He's going to destroy everybody. Nobody has a chance over there at Bellator. They said, all right, come over here. You can get the first fight for a championship title. Come test it out, right? They give him Korshkov. Right. Ted, I was there live for this event. Benson Henderson got picked apart by a guy. Nobody had a clue who he even was.
Yeah, I remember that.
The UFC does this treatment to fighters like that. It's the UFC treatment. So for this to happen,
I mean, do they? I don't know. I wonder. I mean, do they still do it? Is it? Are they kind of beyond that now? Or maybe it's like, hey, look, you made a name for yourself in this other promotion. Now, welcome to the big leagues. We're going to throw you in the deep end, and we're going to see whether you sink or swim.
Look at Eddie Alvarez's career. When he came over from Bellator, we did not see the underground king at these fights. We saw a more quiet, safe, nothing but wrestling every single fight to make it to the championship. He played it pretty safe. They throw him in the deep end. They throw him right into the top 15 to see how they do. Look at MVP last week or 2 weeks ago to see how they do. For Kayla, she's one fighter I do believe could and will become a champion. When they brought over Justin Gaethje, they brought over Marlon Moraes, and then they re-signed, oh man, I forgot the other guy's freaking name. They signed 3 fighters at the end of World Series of Fighting to come over, right?
Okay.
Justin Gaethje's the one who really did anything with the career. Kayla Harrison, she's another one I believe has true promise and potential. People aren't believing MVP is going to be a champion. Michael Chandler, he's another one came over from Bellator. I believe Kayla will be champion.
Oh, hey, speaking of Chandler, so they did make the announcement that Dana White made the announcement that Conor and Chandler will fight.
I haven't heard this yet.
Yeah.
When was this?
Okay, well, here you go. I just saw it. Yeah, they're going to fight at International Fight Week. Is it in June?
It's always in. I feel like last year it was on a different week.
Either the end of June or the end of July.
I think it's the first week of July because my birthday is June 14th. I thought it was a week after that. The third week of June. Is that what you said?
I thought it was like June 29th. I don't know.
Around 4th of July for sure. It's before the 4th of July, if I remember correctly.
It's the yeah. It's whatever the card is at the International Fight Week.
Let's check this out.
Yeah, that's apparently that's happening.
That just got announced just now.
I saw it. I saw it today.
Conor McGregor. That's actually perfect then. He finishes this movie. It's good promotion for Conor McGregor again. However, Ted, with the announcement being said, how do you think that fight could go? Because it might be the last time we see Conor McGregor get as much clout as people give him. If he loses this, people are going to look at him like a joke. I was rewatching the UFC 194 replay because I was trying to go back and see some of these big moments where I was like, oh my God, this is history. This is a historic moment. You saw Conor in there. He was hungry. He wanted to be in there. Conor's gotten to a point in his career after the Mayweather. I went to the Mayweather press conference in Brooklyn, right? I went to go cover it.
Yeah.
Something changed in Conor after UFC 205 here. Something really disgusting happened in his life. He became unfaithful. He started beating up old men at bars. He became sexual allegations against him. He's really become kind of disgusting in my eyes over the years. From throwing dollies at buses and just reckless. If he loses this fight against Chandler, man, his career's become a joke, and it's kind of sad to see.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I think, money, causes some people to become complacent. I think was it Rocky 2 or Rocky 3, where, I think it might have been 3. So Rocky's the champ again, and he's on top of the world, and he starts things start getting to him, money starts getting to him, and he gets complacent, and then that's when he loses to
the big speech,
Mr. T.
Right? He has a big speech.
Yeah. Right. So he loses his edge. So for me, the question is, can Conor gain that edge back?
Okay. The one where he gets all the money, right? He has all the money, the nice house, the robot servant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got to rewatch that, man.
So the question is, can Conor somehow regain that motivation, that fire in the belly, so to speak? Can he, or is he just too far gone because he's worth, however many millions he's worth? I mean, maybe he needs to just hole himself up somewhere, like go to kind of a remote area. Another Rocky reference, when Rocky went to Russia and he was out in the middle of nowhere in a barn, and he had to trudge through the snow and climb up the mountains and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what Conor needs to do: separate from his family and just, get a good group of people to, for a training camp, and, just hunker down and just eat, sleep, and train. That's it. Maybe that's what he needs. But I think you're right, Eddie. If this doesn't go well for him, I don't know that we'll see him again.
I'm glad that you said that about it, Ted. This is actually a really interesting moment in his career, where he is on the fence. This is a Rocky moment, Ted. That was the most perfect thing to say right there, because for this guy's career and all he's accomplished, we don't really see the discipline, the movement, the training that he was doing. Or are we being kind of too much on him? Because if you look at the people he's fighting, Ted, we're not talking about, the top 15. We're talking about the number 1, the number 2 guys in the world. We're talking about the top of the top, the creme de la creme, as they would say. And it's not easy to beat guys at that level, where every time you step in there, you're at the Super Bowl, right?
Right. And wait, didn't I see something about Nate Diaz? He wants to get another crack at Conor too. I think Conor, I don't see him fighting for the title ever again. Any
I don't
title.
think he needs to. His
But
name is big enough.
You're right. You're right. He doesn't need to. He can just do these kind of these big.
I can do these things, right? I can do these things.
Yeah, he can do these big main event type, these big fights.
Red panty night.
You know that. Yeah, it's not for a title, but he, you know, he's a huge draw, and so it's going to be. I don't want to say a freak fight, but it's, you know, it's just one of those fights that, like, everyone is going to want to see it. It doesn't matter if he's fighting for a title or not.
Is Conor McGregor the real Rocky? Is that what we're seeing here? Are we?
Is that what we're saying?
That's
Rocky in real life. I mean,
that's what I think.
That Rocky, the Rocky character, I think mainly, well, God, he never did any of the things that Conor's done outside of the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like the Rocky character always was, you know, a lovable kind of guy, the lovable everyman. But
matter of fact, speaking of Rocky, I interviewed Tommy Morrison's wife. Do you remember Rocky 5? I think it was the young kid. He plays himself.
Machine Gun. Tommy Gunn.
Uh-huh. Do you know about his story and the corruption, the conspiracies?
Jeez. I mean, he was a boxer in real life. Tommy Morrison. He was
allegedly HIV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I interviewed his wife, and she brought me, Ted, when I tell you, folders of evidence that stack up and leads you to the point of this giant conspiracy and corruption, the most evil thing I've ever seen from people behind the emerald walls, right? The people behind the curtain that are moving peas on a plate to really brainwash people, to corrupt and make all this extra money. And the things that she brought to me, Ted, is really interesting. I got to re-upload that interview for everybody, but you just reminded me of that. But that was another guy, right, on the rise, and everything just kind of went to shit. But yeah, this is going to be a huge moment for Conor, Ted. I'm on his Twitter right now, in fact, and I'm going to play it, and I hope you're going to be able to hear this too. Conor just posted something here, and I'm going to play it. So let's check this out.
We're going to fight right now? We're going to do this right now? Right here and right now?
That's what he posted?
Yeah.
That's what he posted? What's that from?
We're going to do this right now? Right here and right now?
Oh my God. What the fuck? That's okay. So I guess when you're that big, that's all you need to do.
Okay.
He's put.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I do not get it either. I guess that's how he's announcing the fight, though. Is that right there? Oh, okay. Ted, you know what this is from? I figured it out. It's from this.
What?
Ready?
Well, of course, I can't see what you're showing. But...
Hold on, it's about to play. Hold on. Here we go.
Now? We're going to do this right now?
Okay, that's not the real audio. So on the Ultimate Fight, the season of Ultimate Fighter that he was on, that was a moment during the season with Michael Chandler, saying that.
That was Chandler saying that?
Well, that's Conor saying it in the audio, but Chandler said it originally on that season Ultimate Fighter.
That doesn't sound anything like Conor's voice.
Well, he's making
His
he's
voice?
making fun of him. He's making fun of Chandler, apparently. I guess
Oh,
I did.
okay.
I'm guilty of not watching The Ultimate Fighter, Ted. That's on. I used to really enjoy The Ultimate Fighter. It's something I really miss, and it was a big part of what the UFC was. The UFC got to a point where they didn't need it anymore. However, that's in season. Now that the fight is going on, I'm kind of interested to rewatch that season and see their interactions to get the real full story of it. Now that the fight is on, would you be interested in watching The Ultimate Fighter again? If it were to air right now, Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler instead of months ago, would you be more interested to watch The Ultimate Fighter? Did they screw up? Did they fumble the bag here with this one?
You mean by the UFC stopping production of it?
So no, I mean fumbling the bag as in they recorded that season Ultimate Fighter Chandler versus McGregor too early when the fight wasn't really, set. Kind of what they did with UFC.
I think they thought the fight was going to follow it, right? That's what's supposed to happen. You have the Ultimate Fighter, and then the two coaches fight. They usually fight at the main event of the card where you've got some of the guys from the
International Fight Week. It usually goes down International Fight Week.
Okay, so we're just like a year off.
But they are doing it on International Fight Week, you said. So a year off.
Well, let me go back to something though.
Okay.
We were talking about Rocky, and you asked is Conor the Rocky IRL in real life? I'd say no, because he has parts of the character. But then the part that he's not emulating is the lovable everyman that Rocky was. Conor let the money get to his head, and so he became how shall I put it? He became a trashy multimillionaire. He may have had millions, but his behavior was like that of a trashy person. So not a very lovable person, not a very, so he transcended, or he got beyond the everyman, because of his arrogance, and thinking that he was better than everyone else.
Which is kind of interesting, because you look at John
It's
Bones,
sad.
right? Let's compare John and Conor here. Who's got the more evil side? Like, we all thought Conor was this great, lovable guy, funny guy, charismatic, popular, always had witty things to say, to now doing interviews, shaking, coked out, posting things that are just absolutely insane. But then you look at John Jones and the hard time he gets as well. Who did it worse, Ted?
It's kind of a tie. It's kind of a tie, in my opinion, because we just have this latest thing with John Jones.
Hey, but Conor's never rescued a woman who got her purse robbed from her.
Well, no, but
he's also never hit a pregnant woman in his car and took off either.
Right. So it's like, how do you score that if you're a judge?
So you're saying, Ted, it comes down to, it's so close to split a hair, and it's about a picogram away.
A picogram, huh?
Whatever. Remember, John Jones got busted UFC 200 for the picogram, right? He had a picogram of something in his system, and that's why he got kicked out of UFC 200. Remember?
Whoa. So it's a very, very small amount?
A very tiny, tiny amount. He got caught with a picogram of some steroid in his system, which got him pulled off the UFC 200. Yeah.
Well, I remember, one of the times, I don't know if it was that time, he was taking estrogen blockers, because when you take steroids, they tend to make your chest as a man grow larger. They call it bitch tits, or gynecomastia is the medical term. So the breast starts to kind of cone out like a woman's. And so that's
a lot of fighters get called out for that. Like, one of their nipples gets bigger and stuff. Like Israel Adesanya's gotten called out.
Adesanya's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it. Now, can it occur naturally in men? I think there is a small percentage where it can, but generally
I check myself in the shower every day, Ted.
Yeah. But generally speaking, thanks, Eddie. None of us really needed to know that. But
One
thank you.
and two. You know, gotta check.
All
Gotta check. Guys, make sure you check.
Okay, so yeah, so generally speaking, you take the estrogen blockers to reduce the amount of estrogen in your system that the steroids, brings in, so that you don't have that effect going on in your chest. That I can't remember if it was that time or another time that's what he got
Well,
caught
that
with.
would be
But this latest
good reason to hide under an octagon at the gym, as Chael said, right?
Yeah, we had that alleged incident where USADA came unannounced to it was Jackson Winklejohn training facility, and John Jones was there, and whoop, he went right under the apron of one of the cages that was there in the facility, hiding from USADA.
Who did it worse though, John Jones or Jose Aldo spilling the cup of urine on the USADA people?
Oh God! Or how about Wanderlei Silva? He ran out of his facility. His own training center was Wand Training Center in Las Vegas when he had it. Ran out of there, hopped in his car, sped off.
Oh my God, bro! You couldn't be any more guilty than that, right? What's the excuse?
Yeah,
horse meat.
This is crazy.
All you had to say was it was horse meat. That's it.
Hey-o. Yeah, but the latest thing with John Jones, for those who don't know, was you said the name of it. It's
the latest thing. Bring this up because are you going to bring up what I'm thinking of? What's the latest thing?
Oh yeah, so these whatever the company is that the UFC now employs to test the fighters. You said it earlier. It has a particular name. I can't remember it. But two of the testers came to John Jones's house at 4 a.m., which that is understood. Like the UFC makes it just as clear as can be that, look, they're going to surprise you when you least expect it. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, whatever. And you have to respond and do what they're asking you to do at that time. But John Jones allegedly got really, really upset. And, supposedly, he's going to receive a summons. He was not arrested, as some media outlets reported. He wasn't arrested, but he's going to receive a summons, I guess, to appear in court because he allegedly threatened one of the drug testers
and punched her. Now
I don't think he laid hands on her, but he took her phone, she says.
So I actually watched that video. Did you see the video?
Oh yeah, that's them high-fiving. It's like one of his security cameras, and it shows him walking out, I guess after everything is done, and so you see the two testers, and yeah, he high-fives her or whatever, but that doesn't tell me much of anything. You know what I mean? That's at the end of it all.
So hold on, Ted. For people who didn't catch this story, I didn't hear the whole story. He took their phone?
The woman. So there's a man and a woman. And so allegedly he took her phone. I don't know. I think she may have placed it down and then he grabbed it and then started recording her with it. And then
I hate people that do that so much. I hate. Yeah. Oh.
So he started recording her. She asked for it back.
He took her phone and recorded her with her phone. That's psycho.
Yeah. And then he only relinquished it, not when she asked for it back, but he set it down when he went to go pee, I guess. And then that's when she was able to recover it. That's what my understanding of what I've read about it. I just don't get this guy. I don't get him at all. Is it the arrogance? The narcissism? I think it might be
bipolar. Very, very bipolar. Two different people going on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Could very well be. Yeah, but it's just another in a long string of ugly behavior.
However, Ted, with all that being said, Alex Pereira last night brought up he wants to move to heavyweight. So let's end it with this. Let's end it with this. Alex Pereira
Can we not?
versus John Jones at heavyweight? I mean,
can we not?
I would like to see it.
Know. I'm kind of against all the weight hopping that fighters do. I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't know why, but it's like, okay,
to get an immediate title shot, is that what frustrates you?
No, it's like they're never satisfied. And I'm not saying you should, like, so you got the light heavyweight belt. You defended it once. Why don't you just see how many wins you can rack up at light heavyweight now that you're there? Instead of immediately thinking, oh, well, I can go over here and do this other thing. When you just got to where you are, he was 185, and then so I don't know why he didn't go back and try to beat Adesanya again. That's probably what I would have done. But
I was getting so tired of these champions doing 3 fights like back to back to back to back. Like the story kind of gets old. I like this because there's more options, because he's actually defending the title. So it opens up like this huge roster of possibilities and excitement. I think that's my favorite part of it, is wondering, what would this matchup be like if he fought?
Right. So now that he has the 205, let's see him against Jiri Prohaska or some of the other guys. Why does he immediately have to think about abandoning that title to take on something else? Because he thinks he's going to make more money there? Not necessarily. Look at Anderson Silva. He was commanding over $1 million a fight, and he just, he had a couple of fights at 205, but he never made a run for the 205 title. Those are just one-offs. One was against Forrest Griffin. I can't even remember who the other one was against. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he pretty much, and look at, he has the most wins, most title defenses at 185, right? And he's a multimillionaire, or at least he should be, because of the money that he, and he's I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but if he isn't, he will be. He's a legendary fighter. So there's something to be said with kind of finding your home and staying there instead of always looking for the bigger, better deal. The grass is always greener.
I get that, because that was an exciting career that Anderson Silva had, and the title defenses that he had as well. It was something. If you were experiencing it fight to fight, it was John Jones as well. But however, the title keeps getting pulled and this and that. But Ted, you bring up something kind of wild there with the Anderson Silva thing.
Okay.
His career was over years. This guy's doing it so fast. Alex Pereira's been in for under 2 years. Two divisions and defending. It's kind of crazy, right?
And maybe he thinks that he needs to be doing things this
Keep
fast,
challenging himself.
Yeah, that and maybe because he already had a career as a kickboxer, so maybe he thinks his time is short. So
and you brought up the UFC Hall of Fame. You really mean the UFC Coffee Break Room Hall of Fame? Right? Because there's no actual Hall of Fame.
We talked about this before. Like, is it an actual place?
No idea.
Like when you go to the Professional Football Hall of Fame, they don't call it the NFL Hall of Fame.
So
but
they
when
did
you go to the Professional Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. It's an actual place. I've seen it. It's an actual building, right? I don't think that the UFC has an actual building. Do they even have so they have that the Apex. Do they have a hallway in the Apex where they have plaques of everybody that they have inducted? If they don't have that, then it's not a Hall of Fame. It's just, you're in the Hall of Fame. There you go. And
put your photo on the wall when people come to visit.
It's not even that. It's not even photos on the wall, is it? Or is it? I don't know.
I have no idea. But did you catch this? I'll drop it on this one here. And then lastly, we're gonna rate this pay-per-view versus 100 or 200 to end it. Did you see they inducted Chael Sonnen, and they brought up one of the moments was him losing in the final seconds against Anderson Silva as part of his historic career, that being one of the main ones. Like, oh,
I mean, I think
how
that
he
was
almost won against Anderson Silva.
Yeah, no, I mean, because nobody had. All right, see, I'm going to defend that because nobody up until that point had taken Anderson Silva to the limit. He didn't he have at the time the record number of punches thrown in a fight. Now, granted, okay, so you get some people who say, "Well, Anderson Silva came out of that fight and not a scratch on him or whatever." Well, whatever. But nobody had taken Anderson Silva to the limit.
He won every round in every fight, I believe.
He won all the rounds except for the round where he got submitted.
Yeah.
Chael Sonnen, and he'll say like, what's that?
No, I'm talking about Anderson Silva throughout his career. I don't think he lost any, or maybe. I'm thinking of John Jones, actually. John Jones is the one.
No, I mean, Silva lost all of those rounds, I think, until the round where he submitted Chael Sonnen, which I guess was the fourth or the fifth.
Yeah. I'm actually mixing it up too, Ted. It's John Jones has never lost or had a split decision up until that one.
So anyway, yeah, Chael Sonnen. I mean, I think that was a career-defining moment for him, even though he lost. Shame that he did, but he did. But yeah, no, it was a tremendous performance it was one of his best performances. The
way he was able to promote as well. I mean, he didn't need anybody behind him. He had his own thing. It was pure American graffiti, right? Pure American, just boy from Ohio, right? He's from Ohio, I believe.
No, Oregon.
Oregon, that's right. Guy from Oregon coming in, talking shit against Brazil. He's the original Colby Covington,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the progression, Conor McGregor was kind of the first guy, and then trash talking, and then there was Chael, and then Colby. I think.
No. Whoa. You're mixing it up. Chael, and then Conor, and then Colby.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Chael Sonnen way before Conor.
Okay. All right.
Chael Sonnen was
all right. So
yeah.
Anyway,
that's what I remember. Yeah.
Okay. So much has happened. Anyway, so yeah, no, I what I forget now. What were you asking me about Chael Sonnen?
No, you're just
from Oregon. Yeah, and he right, he would joke about that he he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He would call himself the American. It was all a big joke. Like he would say, "Oh, I'm the American gangster. I come from the tough streets of what was it? West Lynn, Oregon." And then yeah. So the guy was great. The guy was a great trash talker.
Especially for the Anderson Silva build up. Definitely deserves spot in the Hall of Fame. Jose Aldo bawling his eyes out as well. Legendary fighters right there. But Ted, getting to this point in the show, let's wrap it up with who did it better? UFC 100, 200, or 300? Now that we can look back, and I know UFC 100 may not be fresh in your head or 200 fresh in your head, but I kind of really summed it up like this. UFC 200, we kind of made it more special than what it really was looking back. UFC 100 was an iconic moment because, Brock Lesnar and GSP and then the Hendo bomb. UFC 300, all the shit talking, everyone trashing the card and not really enjoying it. Now that I'm looking back at 200 and 100 and the lineups, UFC 300 really did it the best. And I really got to congratulate the UFC on this one. Absolutely iconic. And then to put this much trust that the fights wouldn't be all decisions or this and that. It couldn't have gone any better, Ted. I give UFC 300 the crown For all three, this was the best one.
All right. So it's the King of the Mountain. All right. I mean, I mean, it's definitely better than 200. I don't know. I kind of look at 300 and 100.
Let's do this.
Almost equal.
Your favorite moment from UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300.
Oh.
Me easily. Hendo bomb.
Yeah, the Hendo hammer, I think they call it, or what? Yeah.
UFC 200 didn't really have.
200 would be the golden mat. Remember they made the ring mat. They the cage. They made it golden.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I could not stand it.
And then the fallout from the Brock Lesnar Mark Hunt fight when because Lesnar was on the juice, and they knew he was on the juice.
They knew he was on the juice,
and they delayed the results of that so that he could, I think it was, so that he could get on the fight card, because if that happened, if he wasn't, then the whole thing would have gone to shit.
That it's mafia type shit. It's so mafia.
Shenanigans, skullduggery.
And I love how they get called out for it too. But yeah, Ted, UFC 300 had plenty of moments, but nothing tops Max Holloway, center of the octagon, 1 second. Nothing tops shooing away Herb Dean after getting kicked in the nuts and finishing the fight in the first round of the main event for UFC 300 as a new fighter inside the UFC. It was just absolutely beautiful. What do you give this card?
Agreed. What are we doing? 5 stars out of 5 stars?
No, is this the best out of 1, 2, or 3? 100, 200, or 300? Who did it best?
I said it's kind of, I don't know. It's a toss up between 100 and 300. I mean, if gun to my head, yeah, I'll go with 300. Yeah.
Not because it's fresh in the head, because we're going to remember those moments. It had moments that stick with you. UFC 189, what sticks with you? Robbie Lawler versus Rory MacDonald, right? You remember some of these weird numbers, right?
Oh, wow.
But then UFC 300,
oh my God,
you'll always remember 300, right? You'll always remember what's attached to it. And I think that's what they did the best. And the fighters getting the bonuses as well. It was just the best, Ted. And it was awesome actually reviewing UFC 300 with you, because we did UFC 200. And I really wanted to bring us together again for this, because over the years, we've seen so many magical moments. And anyone listening to this podcast right now, I want to get you excited about something. Me and Ted covered historic moments as I'm going back into the vault of some of the most iconic times, the most insane headlines when MMA was still the Wild West. Me and Ted were there week after week, catching these headlines raw. Before podcasting was podcasting, me and Ted were podcasting. And we're going to bring back some of the highlights from that. Go check out our UFC 200 reaction to John Bones live during our podcast, finding out he's getting pulled. We're going to be bringing back more of that, and they're going to be premiering live on the channel as well. So definitely look forward to that and subscribe down below. Ted, what do you got planned coming up with your life, and what's the next MMA fight you're excited for? How about that?
Geez. My life, well, still working on the book. I have the it's gone to my editor, and then she's giving it back to me. So I have this is like the first round of edits.
I saw that you posted something about that. Yeah, congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. The last time I posted, I said I had finished the rough draft and had given it to my editor. Now she has given it back to me. So I have up to 3 rounds of editing if I want, or if the book needs it.
Have you tried ChatGPT with it?
Oh no! I don't go anywhere near that. That's actually one of the The book is
Ooh.
about the media and how the
And
relationship
AI?
between the media and the American public has been severed. So one of the things that I am suggesting needs to happen is for the media to distance itself from AI. You don't want to get involved with AI. You saw what happened with Sports Illustrated. They started creating personas through AI, and they started generating stories through AI, and now that they're no more. And it's not the only factor, but that's probably one of the factors. Yeah, read up on it.
What do you
Read
mean
up on it.
personas?
But
Building personas like on.
like fake people, fake writers, fake people. But other newspapers have tried to use AI to generate stories with horrific results. Yeah. There was one. There was an no, not NFL, NBA player. Now he wasn't like a great player per se, but let's say he had been in maybe 50 games. Well, they said AI said he had been in 50 video games. They didn't say NBA games, and then they basically called him like worthless or something like that. It was terrible. So right now they got to stay away from AI. That's not the way to go. You need real people writing real stories. So
The minds of man can be
I don't want to go off on
manipulated
too much.
so easily too.
What's that?
It's scary.
What's that?
The mind
again?
of a man, the human mind can be manipulated into things so easily. So that's really exciting that you're doing this book, Ted. I definitely want to be able to check it out as part of media. And you've been doing media for how many years now?
Well, I spent 25 years as a newspaper reporter, and then these past 3 years, I made the switch to public relations. So now it's still under the communications umbrella. It's just another aspect of it.
But you're calling yourself the recovering reporter. Is that the name of the book, or?
No. It's not the name of the book, but yeah, I do call myself the recovering reporter now. Like reporting like journalism is a sickness or something that you have to recover from.
I've been seeing a lot of people in the media that have been dropping out and doing something kind of similar, speaking out, being like, you guys got to wake up right now before it's too late. So this is really exciting, Ted. I'm looking forward to it. This year's off to a great start, 2024 for mixed martial arts.
Yes, sir.
Right when I thought mixed martial arts was doomed the last couple of years, the excitement, the rawness, the real personalities of these fighters and their freedom, the pay, the new fans. Ted, we got an exciting venture ahead of us as we go on past UFC 300 to 301, 302, and I cannot wait to see what happens between 300 and 400. With that being said, guys, tune in because we're going to be talking about everything that happens here on out, and I hope that you are strapped in and ready for it because we're here, we're excited, and the passion is back, and I hope that you guys enjoyed yourself tonight on this podcast. Subscribe down below. Ted, where can they find you before we sign off? Where can they find you on social media?
I'm on YouTube. That's Recovering Reporter, and I'm on Instagram a little bit, and I'm on X. I just got my blue check mark on X.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations on that too.
Got that.
That's got on line.
Yeah,
I gotta get in on.
How about you, man?
Too.
Where are you? Don't forget to.
Hey everyone, X Evil Eddie X at Pure Evil MMA _ and YouTube.com Pure Evil MMA. But guys, check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere you can get the show. And Ted, I want to thank you so much for joining me once again tonight on another episode of Evil Intoxicated. We called it UFC 300 Evil Intoxicated. That does it for this episode. And I hope you guys remember, without evil, there's no purity. White knuckles till the end. Behave yourselves.